Hi everyone, I'm Kelley Knickerbocker and I am here at Mosaic Arts Online to share with you my new course, Gray Tess on Bright Mortar, How to Build Colorful Andamento. And if you've followed my work, you're probably wondering, why is she teaching this course? She doesn't use very much color in her work. But what I am is I'm an experimenter. And so I've been experimenting with colored mortars, and I have come up with a way to quickly gradient colored mortar. And that's what I want to share with you. But really, what I really want to talk to you about is andamento. So we're going to start, when we do this course, we're going to start talking about andamento, and I'm going to give you some basic rules of classical andamento, which is the flow of lines in Mosaic. So these expressive lines help us define water or wind or other movement in our mosaics, and that's what I want to talk about. So we'll go through some basic andamento rules, and then we're going to move into materials and color. And because you're balancing all these things at the same time, the first thing we're going to do, rather than dive right into our design, we're going to build a test stick, okay? And that's right over here. And we're going to talk about how colors move from bright into dark, and from yellow into blue, from yellow into red. We're going to talk about all of those using our color wheel, and we're going to build a test. And as we go, we're going to talk about not just the actual color of the mortar, but we're going to talk about metaphorical color as well, because our tesserae are all gray, right? So we're going to talk about metaphorical color, which is the liveliness and character that we can build into a line of andamento, even though it's all grayscale. All right, so andamento first, and then we build a test and we talk about color. And look what we can do. In 1 cup of mortar, we can get this entire range of color. That's the exciting part about the color. All right, and when you look at these lines of andamento, you can see that we've tucked some fun things in, and we have done our best to, in a gradient from dark to light, we've done our best to provide metaphorical color in that line. Okay, so we build our test stick and we talk about color and we talk about materials, the gradient of dark to light and light to dark. And we've got all kinds of materials here. We've got a range of porcelain, crockery, glass tile, all kinds of things. But the key is they're pretty easy to cut, right? Because I don't want you struggling with cutting materials on top of everything else you're juggling. So pick some colors some materials that are easy for you to cut. And you can, even if you just have a black, a gray, and a pale gray or a white, you'll be good. It'll work. So bring whatever you have and have them separated into that gradient, and we'll get going. So we're going to build our test, and then we're going to talk about color. We're going to talk about how gray enhances color, and then we are going to move into our project. So we will be familiar by the time we get to our project, yes. By the time we get to building our project, you're going to be familiar with how these tints work. These tints are from here at Mosaic Arts Online, and you're going to be familiar with how they work. You're going to be familiar with the mortar that we're using and the admix, because we've built our test. Okay, I'm a firm believer in tests. So we've built our test and we know what we're doing. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to work in the warms, okay? We're going to work in warm colors and talk about several different ways to make warm gradients, coming up from yellow, working with red. And we're also going to talk about, as we build our project, different designs that showcase this type of line. And you're going to have several designs to choose from. And we're going to transfer that to our substrate and then with transfer paper. And then we're going to get moving on our project. And there will be a lot of talking about what we're doing as we build and some options about other things to do than what you just see here. So we're going to cover a whole lot. And in the process also, we'll be figuring out how to use our tools, which tool is for what. So we're covering a lot of ground, but don't worry, step by step, we'll walk through it and we'll have a great time building. I can't wait.
Kelley, thank you so much for returning to Mosaic Arts Online once again for a course that has been knocked out of the park and is going to teach people some really great fundamental things and some new things.
I think you're right. It will. It'll touch on andamento, but not nearly in the depth that Annabella does or Rachel Sager. Those are the places to go here at MAO if you want a really deep grounding in andamento. I'm touching on the surface, giving you some basic rules, but not a deep dive into andamento.
But it's good. It's just good fundamental rules to kind of have in everyone's toolbox as they are creating whatever that is, including this course. So before we really get started about in the course, what inspired you to create this course? Because many of you might not know, Kelley is not a fan of what one might call color. This is Technicolor to Kelley. As you see here, this
My eyes
is Kelley's
twitching.
happy place. This is Kelley's sort of what am I doing here place. But she brought it here. So give us a little inspiration story.
What the heck?
Right?
This really is my happy place, the grayscale. The variation within that, it's just so exciting to me. So many years ago now, I was going to take a course with Erin Pankratz, and as you may know already or not, she is the queen of the colored mortars.
Yes.
And she's got a couple courses here at MAO where she talks about, basically painting and marking with colored mortar on your substrate and then using colored mortar as your adhesive and then colored tesserae. And then my eye just starts to twitch thinking about it, So I was going to take this course with her about the colored mortar substrate material, and I said, I don't think I can do it. I think I might have a heart attack right there in the class. So can I please use my grayscale tesserae with your colored mortars techniques and learn that, but use my grayscale tesserae? And she says, oh, sure, do whatever you're comfortable with, honey. You poor thing. And so I did, and I was able to do the course and not, have an aneurysm because I could still work with my grayscale palette. And so it wasn't overpowering. And that was the seed way back then of seeing how powerful actually grayscale and color are together, because the grayscale enhances the color. Mm-hmm. It does not pull away or compete, so it really allows the color to shine. And another tricky thing that I'm trying to slide in here sneakily in the andamento is, because andamento is really important to me, and so I want to kind of get it out there. I've only touched on it in fundamento, and now I kind of want to say a little more. But your interstices, the spaces between the tesserae. So this technique is all about, that's where the color is in between the tesserae. So the way that really comes forward is to have the tesserae be grayscale. So that I can get excited about.
Well, and you are, it is a little bit of like breaking some of those rules where we like to not have our mortar squish up too high. So here it's all about the squish up.
Right.
You're not going to get in trouble from the teacher if you squish up too high with your colored mortar on your gray tessera.
Yeah.
So you've brought together some really good basic techniques and made this really fun course that is full of so much information. But talk about the materials. What's important about these materials aside from them being in your values of the grayscale?
Right. Well, one super huge important thing is that they all need to be opaque. Right? Because if you can see through them, then the color will transfer through them.
The colored mortar.
The colored mortar, the colors of the mortar. So we want to make sure that color is coming up in between the tesserae, not underneath. Mm-hmm. So all your materials need to be opaque. But other than that, it's whatever is fun for you to cut, easy for you to cut, because I don't want you to have to struggle with the cutting. So, whether it's glass tile or crockery, whatever it is, just make sure it's opaque and it's in grayscale. Light, medium, dark. And even if you just have one thing that's dark, a plate that's medium and a plate that's light, you'll be fine. It'll be okay.
And that's mostly what's here is a bunch of different kinds of crockery, a few of these unglazed tiles, all available on the PDF as far as this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Some of this Eco Smalty. It's all very accessible, and when you only need 3 different values, it's not that hard. And the tools are pretty simple.
Yes, pretty straightforward. We'll be using nippers. No hammer and hardy. We'll just be using nippers and a couple of tools to maneuver mortar. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. And just so you know, this is like way more than you would need
for sure.
in the course. This This is Pusha. This
TV
is television. But also because it's really lovely to choose from abundance.
Yes.
Because pretty much everything you pick up, you'll be able to use if you have a lot of it. So I tend to go overboard so that I know that I have plenty. I never run out. But really, this is way more. I'm like, see, we've already done the project out of all this and done all these projects out of this. So it's more than we need. But you know.
It's a pretty collection, and you can start to collect it over time.
Absolutely.
But if you want to dive right in, it is not something that you need a lot.
A ton, no.
And Kelley is always accessible in our comment section of our courses.
Always.
This is a great course if you are new to andamento and you really want to just get your pinky toe in and understand it a little better and still make something colorful and learn about values and all of that. So is there anything else you want to add?
So truth be told,
oh dear,
I knew that what I really was, I'm trying to draw you in with the color because I know that most everybody but me loves color. So I'm trying to pull you in with the color, but at the same time, really, I want to introduce you to andamento. So I'm going to pull you in, but I also am going to try to instill in our students the idea of experimenting and testing, because those are the cornerstones of my practice. And so you see what you see here, but what you're going to get as we talk are some possibilities for testing and experimenting that take you farther than and in different directions than just what we're doing here. So it's all about the experimentation and pushing, trying the next thing. What if?
Right. Well, if you're new to Mosaic Arts Online, Kelley is one of our best, and it is always a pleasure to have you here. And I can't thank you enough for bringing this very experimental and very gratifying and achievable course to us.
Absolutely. Whether you're a beginner or you've been on this path for a while, there's something in there for everybody. And it's a joy to be here. Thank you, Tammy.
Absolutely.